Um, yeah, so please let us know where you're tuning in from and the ages of your kids, so we have a chance to get to know you too as we go here.
Yes, and thank you. Hello, everyone. So we're live on all streaming channels, all the BAT channels. Give us a hello if you're here. And welcome to Pause Friday. This is what I do every Friday at 12 o'clock Pacific. And we bring in experts in their field and guests, and we talk about topics and tools that are all in service to living in the resilience, the calm, and the empowerment of your best self. In this case, today we are here with Vanessa, who is our parenting coach, parenting expert. So who's a parent out there? We want to know you're watching and listening. So just give us a little love in the chat. Give us a like or a heart. How are you doing today, Vanessa?
I'm doing great. Yeah. And it would be great if people let us know too the ages of their kids, because a lot of times it's really helpful. Developmentally, kids need different things at different stages. And we'll be talking to many of those ages, but it'd be great to know in the chat. So you can put maybe your location and the ages of your kids. So I would put San Francisco Bay Area 7, 22, and 26 would be my little
nice. So I'm going to write that in the chat as well.
Yeah. And I'm excited to be here in Pause Fridays because I've been following Rachel for many years now, learning about the power of the pause from her very scientifically based, perspective. She has so many great strategies to really train your nervous system to self-regulate and really use that pause powerfully. And so it's just such an honor to be here. Thanks for inviting me on, Rachel.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's share a little bit about you. And actually, I have what I can introduce you, but I think you do it always best in your own words because you know what you're doing best. So why don't I know? Yeah, like we've known each other for a couple of years. I know you've been on as a guest in the past. You've got amazing credentials and training. So just tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words. That's always, I think, more fun and interesting.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I love supporting families. And, I started out as a classroom teacher and then raised my own stepchildren to adulthood. And all along the way was just noticing how much emotional resilience makes a difference. And so I empower parents who are maybe dealing with challenging behaviors that either bring up their own tough emotions or their kids' big, tough emotions. And help them to be able to get through those like meltdowns, tantrums, power struggles, sibling fights, things like that, maybe motivation issues, so that you can navigate it in a way where you feel calm, you feel confident, and you feel effective. And then what the kids get to have from that is the opportunity to learn from you effective strategies. Another reason I got into this is not only because I needed to learn them to be an effective caregiver, but also because I realized that there's this gap out there. Here we have one of the most demanding job descriptions as parents and caregivers, and we have one of the most intense outcomes, which is raising a whole human being and launching them confidently into the world. And yet, like, where is the onboarding process, the mentorship, the community to learn together with, that we would do for so many other things, like to learn how to, play baseball or do yoga or, craft something out of clay. We have formal instruction for that. But why don't we have it for parents? And so I think that's why I'm seeing in my field, this really growing need and this growing acknowledgement of the missing piece here. So that inspired me to leave the classroom, conduct research, and then now share out what I've learned from experience and research to parents all over the world.
You're bringing the work to the world, which is so needed. And right, like empowering parents. That's what I think I love about you, is helping parents be calm and empowered and really training on those skills, because it is learnable, right? I mean, that's like the depth of what you're doing.
Absolutely. It's so learnable. And I think also oftentimes parents like want to be that calm and empowered parent, that source of calm and being able to empower their kids and things like that. And they'll hear great ideas, but then when the rubber hits the road and there's a big emotion or there's a conflict, you can kind of default to maybe what you grew up with or something that you really would prefer not to bring into the family system. And so that's why learning it, it's a learnable skill, and then you can practice and refine it, and then it becomes your new normal, which is great. Like permanent changes, leaving a new legacy your kids get to grow up with. So really,
Oh,
really powerful
awesome.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's talk about that a little bit, right? And so if
Yeah.
you've got questions too, ask them in the chat. I think we've got a few folks on
Oh, great.
in real time, which is always awesome. So you mentioned there's a lot of challenges. We all know that, from parents losing their patience and not knowing what to do when these big moments happen, when these big chaos type moments are in effect meltdowns, or the tantrums, or those power struggles that just kind of can be out of nowhere. Or maybe they've been building up, I suppose. So what can parents do to navigate these big emotions? What do we do?
Well, I'm going to just, piggyback off of your work, Rachel, a little bit here and say awareness that comes from intentional pausing is one of the biggest keys that sort of unlocks all of the other tools and strategies. And I know that's something that you teach here in this community, and that a lot of your clients really rely on you for, because once we make that intentional shift in where we put our attention, or like even as simple as, instead of why is my kid doing this, you could say, what do I think my kid is trying to tell me right now? Shifting to maybe this tantrum, meltdown, or partial is actually a form of communication. So shifting the way we even think or look at what's happening. Or I wonder if there's something else going on here that my child needs. Maybe they're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. That HALT acronym, HALT, all of my clients use. They're like, okay, HALT. Is this child hungry?
What's HALT? Yeah, what is that?
Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So it's like stop. It's kind of like the pause, right? So stop and check in. Because oftentimes we'll take it at face value. So the kid saying, I hate you, you're so unfair, and is stomping around and throwing things. You're like, hold on, could it be that maybe my child's hungry, angry, lonely, or tired right now? Halt, time out. And is there something we need to address that's not what my child is saying? Because if I adjust what my child is saying and I kind of take the bait, pick up the other end of the tug of war rope, you never want to fight with a feeling. You don't want to fight their feelings. You have no right to be angry right now or whatever, right? It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. The brain can't handle it. So let's get into that pause and looking at what else might be going on. Would be the first thing that I would suggest. It's sort of that basic piece that if we can all put into place makes a difference.
Yeah, I love that. And what I'm hearing is bringing in your curiosity, right? Where you can bring in that awesome tool HALT, but then you're also curious. So you're not necessarily coming in with a predetermined thing, oh, he's got to be hungry. He didn't eat until 2 hours ago. It's hang on, no, actually, maybe it's just something else. And that, to me, that's so exciting, because, and it's hard, right? We have to bring in our thinking brain and calm ourselves down, because it's so triggering for us sometimes. So yeah, that tool HALT is so good. And what else could we do as parents? I know I'm not a parent personally, but I know I have, I don't have kids, right? But I'm a parent in other ways, a mother in other ways, right? And that's what I also think of in your work too. It's the kids are a super important part, right? But it's also just good life skills. Oh, yeah. What else could you do as a parent to keep composure?
Right, because composure is how we're able to function well in the world, how we can do work better, how we can be a better communicating with partners, how we can be better at, a lot of relationships in our lives really depend on us being able to have our composure. So I'm so glad you spoke to that. It's not just with our kids. It's just that with our kids, they can push our buttons more. They're willing to take the conflict further than you are usually. So if you escalate, it could go really, they're willing to, I always say, I bet your 4-year-old is willing to lay face down in the mud and scream and ugly cry until snot runs down their face, and you're not willing to do that.
They're gonna go until the last mile. You're gonna go to maybe the last mile, but they'll go 10x times.
Yeah. So I'm always I don't recommend getting into a fight with a 4-year-old, because they will take it further than you ever would be willing to. And some of you out there might be laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about. So what are some calm tools? Well, so building off of what we talked about already, saying okay, a little bit of awareness of okay, things are chaotic here, or things are starting to escalate here, or there's a big emotion here. So that awareness, and then staying curious and maybe wondering if there's something else going on here. Then though, you have to also realize that once your nervous system starts to dysregulate, once you are getting that stress response, we need to actually tap into really smart tools to to keep ourselves calm, or find that calm again, that baseline. And so do our kids. So if a kid is stomping around and screaming, "I hate you, you're so mean, or that's unfair," is probably not going to, it is not going to be able to hear logic, for example. Like you can't logically explain why that's not true.
Yep.
It's not available. Like their brain will not process that information in any useful form. And you also can't really offer a whole bunch of choices, or refer to a bunch of memories, or refer to the future, because the brain is not able to process things like, it doesn't have working memory to go,
not
oh,
work the same.
like they can't hold 4 options in their mind. Maybe, well, maybe 2, but not more than 2 usually. They also can't draw on past experiences. Like, well, last time this happened, you didn't have such a hard time with it. They can't think of that. They can't recall that previous time if they're that upset. And so those are some things to avoid. You don't want to kind of go down this very cognitive heavy approach, because you have to think of their like brain is offline. Like they flipped their lid, that front part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, is offline. It's dysregulated. It's not integrating with their limbic system, their emotions, and their brainstem, which is moving their body. It's disintegrated. It's not. So that's why we say things like flip your lid, like you blew your top, or flipped your lid, or you're falling apart. It's because you don't feel coordinated and integrated anymore, and you don't have access to these great thinking skills. So the smart things to do, and this is what I teach to all my clients, and this is what I teach in my trainings, is that to fill up your toolboxes with, and then practice some in the moment calm down strategies. And here's one kids can love. I've had people come to a seminar with me and then do this, and then even the adults like it. It's called the roller coaster breath. So we can just practice it right now. You put out your hand. Yeah. Yeah. And as you go, chase your finger up, you breathe in. And then as you trace your finger down, you breathe out. Okay. So let's start. We'll breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in.
This is awesome.
And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And because there is, and it's fun, there's a mnemonic, right? Like a memory thing of the roller coaster. You have a physical prompt, which you always have with you, which is your hand. I've seen 2.5-year-olds use this to 70-year-olds. I mean, like grandparents are using this too. So that and other kinds of breaths. Now, the roller coaster breath isn't going to be the breath for every kid and every person. And there's also like somatic tools where you can tense and release, but not everybody wants to do what's called an exploding star. Some people want to do something more subtle with just their hands. So it's also about like finding the right fit in the moment calm down tool for you and that your kids will like, and being okay with maybe you like to breathe and they like to do something like tense and release. Like it can look different, because one thing that caregivers run into is they know about the breath, they think of it in the moment, and they tell their kid, now take some deep breaths. And sometimes it works, but a lot of times kids get tired of being told to breathe and they get mad at you when you tell them to breathe.
Right. Or I could imagine if that were my little self, I'd be like, I am breathing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, especially if you're angry.
Want for me?
If there's anger happening, right? But it's a different invitation, being like, remember we agreed to take some roller coaster breaths if our voices got loud, or remember we agreed to take a break and go do some 4 square breaths or some balloon breaths. Or how about we all do a balloon breath right now, and they do the balloon breath, right? So whatever it is that you think, you get to try it out and discover as a family, or as a caregiver and child or children, like what tool works for me. And it's just a great question. And that question alone just kind of normalizes that sometimes what's needed when our nervous systems are offline is to bring it back online. Because otherwise our mind can just loop. It'll just loop and you've seen it. I don't know about you, but I've seen tantrums that have lasted more than 20 minutes for sure. And meltdowns.
Oh, I think I've had those. Yeah.
I know, right? And I've seen conflicts and power struggles in the classroom, in my own home, in my clients' homes. Like that they don't let it go. Like it takes weeks sometimes to get through it before they repair and come back together, because they never quite like brought the
Yeah.
tenor down, you know. So that would be my invitation to, you know, the parents out there, is to try out calm down strategies and figure out which ones work best for you and for each of your children in your care.
Yeah. And I know that your expertise and what you're saying is so ringing true just about the power of the breath. And we tried that one, and you have a whole arsenal of different breaths. And it is like a pause, right? That's what works. It's about what works for you. It's an intentional shift in behavior. And that's so powerful. And for kids to learn that, I would say it's like the power tool that they could use for the rest of their lives. And as a parent using that too. And so I know you've got some exciting stuff coming up, and I feel like we're just getting a little taste of it, but tell us how we can learn more about this, and what have you got cooking with these strategies?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm really proud of this series that's coming up. It's a 6-part series. And because of some fundraising and other things, we've been able to get this series down to just $17 for 6 trainings. And we'll spend a week together where we just an hour a day. You can even come for just part of it, the part you can make. And we're going to walk you through 6 different types of calming tools.
Yeah.
Like we'll do breathing one day, we'll do tense and release tools another day, and variations thereof. So that each evening you can connect with the children in your world and practice with them and discover like what's the best breathing tool for each of us, or do breathing tools even appeal to us? Next day, what somatic tools work for us? Another day, we have one all about humor and ways that we can lighten up. So it's a really fun training. It's called Find Your Calm in the Chaos of Parenting. And yeah, and it's coming up just after the Thanksgiving holiday. Well, we'll get started the 2 Fridays after Thanksgiving, December 3rd. Give us a little space from the holiday.
Yeah, get a little space, December 3rd through the 8th. So it's 6 days. It sounds like it's 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, right?
Right. And just an hour a day. And then there will also be a replay watch party in the evenings, and the recordings will be up all throughout the whole time and another week after. So you'll have access to the tools for a full 2 weeks that you can play with them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about, if you're just feeling like this information is helpful, even at a very base level, like learning the roller coaster breath, or learning like how you could approach your child in different ways, halt, and having different tools like this is the place for you. I'm so excited for your training. I can't even imagine what you would learn with you in 6 parts across like 6
fun.
days. And then, like, it's not about like, you're going to have recordings, you're going to have watch parties, you're going to meet like-minded parents that are going to need and be like sharing with you in that moment and what's going on. So that's so great. I put the link in the chat here. So if anyone wants to check this out, I know it's priced so well, $17 for the whole week, like less than $3 a day. I was thinking like that's less than a book you would buy on parenting that would probably not even be as useful, because you got to read the whole thing. And like, why not just make it easy on yourself and go watch you and learn these things without having to invest in like some book that's probably going to sit on your shelf anyway.
Yeah, and we make it really interactive. Like you get to, like we just practiced the roller coaster breath. Like you'll get to practice everything, so you'll feel really confident about bringing it to the children and sharing it with them too. And I've had parents come back each day being like, oh my gosh, my kid did this for the first time, or I really think this is my kid's calm down tool. And like, we had a really good laugh, even though like, you know, we were having a tense moment. It totally worked for us to break it up with some good laughter. Like you just get to practice it for a week and really normal. Like at the end of the week, what I'm hoping is that you'll have a full toolbox with these essential tools that every parent needs to have the calm and the confidence to really empower their kids to also take care of their emotional needs. It's really fun. We'll also have some contests. So you can show up live for daily prizes, or, you know, if you watch the video on the day, even if it's at the very end of the day, there's another really valuable prize. And then I am also at the end of the whole event giving away a seat in my year-long program for parents.
Whoa, a whole seat. So that's an incredible grand prize to offer. And kudos to you for being so generous, and how incredible, like what a way to end the year too, right? Like if you're thinking about 2022, like how are you going to step into parenting and literally like be in the chaos, but calm and cool as a cucumber, as I like to say. Like, why would you not attend this? This is like a no-brainer. And you offer so much value to Vanessa. So I'm just so like supporting and excited for you that you're having this opportunity, because what other how I don't know, I'm not a parent, like I said, but I would say like this would be like I'm like signing up ASAP, because these are lifelong skills that you're offering, right? Like for pennies on the dollar, that is valued over hundreds of dollars, right? Like $500 for all these things if they were separate. And I think this is just something that's so incredible that could be life changing. So
Absolutely. I mean, what I see is when these strategies start to be really, a part of the family culture or the school or classroom culture, like it permanently shifts things towards that more empowered place. And it takes a lot of the shame out of having big emotions too. Like if you have a sensitive child or a child who's going through a sensitive time, or maybe they have sensitivities during certain things like holidays or birthdays, or when their friends are over or they're visiting with their cousins, like, there's different things that trigger big emotions, like making it okay that they are experiencing these big emotions and helping them through it, instead of bringing in anything that might make it wrong, like embarrass them, because there's a lot. Our culture has so much healing to do around our emotions, and really we're hardwired to have a response to our environment, and so it makes sense that these emotions exist. It makes sense that they can take over. And so one thing I would just say as kind of a final piece of, of course, come to the training and we'll talk more, but I would just love for every parent and caregiver, when they see a child like, really going out of bounds, whether they're like really losing it and screaming and hitting and kicking, or they're using name calling, or they're like saying these statements like, I'll never, or I hate this, or, you never, whatever. Just think of, be really clear, like they are not their regular selves right now. Like their brain is literally firing differently and in a way that it's hardwired to fire. Like they're not choosing to be that way. And I think when we keep that in mind, even when we are interacting with adults too, it helps all of us to just kind of go, whoa, this human like needs something right now. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to give it to them, but they need something to be able to calm down. And then we're going to be able to get through it together once that calm is restored. So yeah, so that's my kind of top tip for this little interview here, is to try and look through the lens of like, oh, their brain is firing differently than normal. Like this isn't the same brain.
Right. It's not this, it's like a different, it's not who he or she really is. Yeah. It's this elevated, escalated moment. And what a gift, right? Like what a gift to pay it forward for you and your child to join you. So I am so excited for this opportunity. And Vanessa, thank you so much for just coming in, spending your time with us, helping us understand more about these tools that you offer and the invitation to join you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful that you're here today.
My pleasure. And thank you for making the time and space for this kind of conversation. I know that a lot of times parenting can feel lonely, and I put a stake in the ground that you don't have to do it alone, and you don't have to figure it all out trial and error, just don't. Yeah. And so thank you for making the space for this kind of empowerment for your community. It's really lovely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And everyone, go ahead, go click on the link in the comments. RSVP for her thing, her Calm in the Chaos in Friday, December 3rd, and we will say goodbye today. Thank you so much.
All right. Be well, everybody. Take care.